A sheriff's worst nightmare comes true when the neighborhood HOA president kidnaps his cancer-stricken daughter and leaves her hanging from a tree in the dark forest. Now Tom must choose between following the law and seeking the justice his little girl deserves. Some lines should never be crossed. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The forest was very dark. It was the kind of dark that makes you scared and takes away all hope. The tall trees reached up to the sky like skeleton hands trying to grab something. A cold wind blew through the leaves, making scary sounds. I could hear a girl crying softly somewhere in the darkness. That girl was my daughter Lily. My sweet, sick Lily who could not walk without her wheelchair. She always smiled even when she was in pain. She trusted people even when they were mean to her. And now she was trapped somewhere with Karen, the mean woman who controlled our neighborhood like she was a queen. My name is Tom and I am the county sheriff. Most people in our town of Pinewood know me as a quiet man who keeps everyone safe. I listen more than I talk. But tonight I was not just the sheriff. I was a scared father and my heart was breaking into pieces. Karen had done something terrible. She had taken my daughter, my 14-year-old girl who had been fighting cancer for 2 years. I did not know why she did this awful thing, but I knew where to find them. They were in the old forest at the edge of town. Nobody went there anymore. It was the perfect place to hide a crime. This whole nightmare started 3 days ago. Karen came to our house like a storm. She had fake blonde hair pulled back tight and mean eyes like a hawk. She always carried a clipboard and acted like she owned the whole neighborhood. She was the president of the HOA, which meant she made rules for everyone's houses and yards. Karen thought rules were more important than people. She especially hated our small house because the paint was old and the grass was too long. We lived in a simple house with a small yard. The paint was peeling off the walls and weeds grew everywhere instead of nice grass. This made Karen very angry. But there was a good reason our house looked bad. Lily's medical bills cost us all our money. Taking care of a sick child is very expensive. I worked extra hours as sheriff, but it was never enough. I had no time to fix the house or cut the grass. I was always either working or taking Lily to the hospital. Karen did not care about any of this. That morning, Karen marched up to our front door like she was going to war. She wore a perfect white shirt and dark pants. Her shoes were shiny and expensive. Everything about her looked perfect and cold. "Your yard is disgusting, Tom," she said, pointing at our weeds with her manicured finger. "The HOA has rules. You are making all the houses in this neighborhood look bad. Property values are going down because of you." I tried to stay calm even though I was tired and stressed. "Karen, Lily has been in the hospital a lot lately. Her treatments take up most of my time. I will fix the yard when I can." She made a nasty sound with her mouth. "Excuses do not work with me. You have exactly 1 week to fix this mess, or I will give you a big fine. And do not think being sheriff will protect you. Rules are rules for everyone." Lily was sitting on our front porch in her wheelchair. She looked so small and fragile. Her arms were thin from all the medicine she had to take. But she still had hope in her big brown eyes. She looked up at Karen and said in her soft voice, "I can help Dad plant flowers. I really like flowers. Maybe we can make the yard pretty together." Karen barely looked at my sweet daughter. "Stay out of this, kid. This is grown-up business." Then she stuck a yellow citation paper on our front door and walked away like she had won a big victory. I thought that was the end of it. I was very wrong. Yesterday was the worst day of my life. I came home after working a 12-hour shift. I was tired and hungry, but I was happy to see Lily. When I walked into our living room, I saw her empty wheelchair, but she was not in it. My heart started beating very fast. "Lily?" I called out. "Lily, where are you?" I looked in every room of our small house. Her bedroom was empty. The bathroom was empty. The kitchen was empty. Panic started to fill my chest like cold water. Then I saw a piece of paper stuck to our refrigerator with tape. It was written in Karen's neat, perfect handwriting. The note said, "If you want your daughter back, you better start following the rules. Look for her in the forest." My blood turned to ice. I felt sick to my stomach. Someone had taken my sick daughter. Someone had kidnapped Lily. I grabbed my sheriff's gun, my badge, and my biggest flashlight. I ran to my truck and drove as fast as I could to the old forest. The road to the forest was bumpy and full of holes. Tree branches seemed to reach out and try to grab my truck. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might explode. I parked at the edge of the forest and stepped into the darkness. The air smelled like wet dirt and pine trees. Somewhere in this scary place, my daughter was frightened and maybe hurt. I had never felt so helpless, not even when the doctors first told us Lily had cancer. I walked fast through the forest. My boots made loud crunching sounds on the dead leaves. The forest was quiet except for the wind and a very faint sound of someone crying. I followed that crying sound like it was calling to me. My flashlight made a circle of light that moved through the dark trees and shadows. Then I saw something that made my heart stop. There was Lily, my precious little girl, hanging from a tree branch. Someone had tied a rope around her thin wrists. Her weak body was hanging a few feet off the ground. Her face was very pale and her eyes were barely open, but she was alive. She was making soft whimpering sounds like a hurt animal. I felt anger and fear explode in my chest like a bomb. "Lily!" I shouted as loud as I could. I ran to her as fast as my legs could carry me. I pulled out my sharp knife and cut the rope. I caught her small body as she fell. She was so light like a little bird. Her breathing was very shallow and her skin felt cold like ice. "I am here, baby," I whispered while holding her close to my chest. "You are safe now. Daddy is here." She opened her tired eyes and looked at me. Tears were running down her pale cheeks. "She said mean things to me, Dad," Lily whispered in a voice so quiet I could barely hear her. "She said I was a burden. She said you would never follow her rules as long as I was around to make you soft." I felt my jaw muscles get tight with anger. This was not about the HOA or our messy lawn. This was personal. Karen had hurt my daughter to get back at me. She wanted to show me that she had power over my family. I picked up Lily in my arms and carried her to my truck. I wrapped her in my warm sheriff's jacket and called for help on my radio. My deputy Mike came quickly with an ambulance. The paramedics were very gentle with Lily. They put her on a stretcher and drove her to the hospital. The doctors checked her all over and said she would be okay, but she needed to rest and get stronger. I sat by her hospital bed all night, holding her small hand in mine. When she finally fell asleep, I knew it was time to go after Karen. I found Karen at her perfect house. It was the kind of house that looked like it came from a magazine. The hedges were cut perfectly straight. The mailbox was shiny and new. The driveway had no cracks. Even the flowers in her garden grew in perfect straight lines. She was sitting on her front porch like a queen on her throne, drinking wine from an expensive glass. She looked very pleased with herself, like she had just won an important game. I parked my sheriff's truck in front of her house and walked up to her porch. My badge felt heavy on my chest. "Karen," I said in a low, dangerous voice, "you are under arrest." Her eyes got very wide, but then she laughed like I had told her a funny joke. "Arrest me for what?" "You cannot touch me, Tom. I am the HOA president. I keep this town running properly. I make sure people follow the rules." "You kidnapped my daughter," I said, taking a step closer to her. "You tied her to a tree and left her hanging in the forest. You almost killed a sick child." For the first time, Karen looked scared. Her wine glass started shaking in her hand. I did not mean for it to go that far. I just wanted to scare you a little bit. You never listened to me. You ignore all my warnings." "Scare me?" I almost shouted. "She is a sick child. She is fighting cancer. She might die anyway, and you used her to play your sick, twisted game." Karen's face got hard again. "You think you are above the rules because you are the sheriff? You let your yard look like garbage. You ignore my citations. You act like you are too important to follow the same rules as everyone else. Someone had to teach you a lesson." I put handcuffs on her wrists while she complained and protested. "You are finished, Karen. A judge and jury will decide what happens to you now." As I walked her to my truck, neighbors came out of their houses. They were whispering to each other and pointing. They had heard about what happened to Lily. Some of them had seen Karen being mean to other families too. Now they could see what kind of person she really was, a monster who would hurt a disabled child just to prove she had power. I could see anger burning in their eyes and I knew they would support me and Lily. The next morning, I sat with Lily in her hospital room. She was awake and feeling a little better. She was sipping apple juice through a bendable straw. The doctors had given her medicine for pain and to help her get stronger. "Dad," she said in her soft voice, "why does that woman hate us so much?" I took her small hand in both of mine. "Some people, Lily, have so much hate and anger inside them that they cannot see anything good. They think being mean makes them powerful. But you are different. You are full of love and kindness. And I promise I will never let anyone hurt you like this again." Lily gave me a weak but beautiful smile. "I know you will protect me, Dad. You always do." Over the next few weeks, everything changed. Karen's arrest was in all the newspapers and on TV news. The whole town turned against her. People started bringing flowers to our house for Lily. They wrote letters saying how sorry they were that this happened. Children from Lily's school made her get well cards with drawings and nice messages. The HOA board had an emergency meeting and kicked Karen out of her job. Her perfect house went up for sale, and nobody wanted to buy it because everyone knew what she had done. But I was not satisfied with just arresting Karen. I wanted real justice. Not just for Lily but for everyone Karen had bullied over the years. The trial was the biggest event our small town had seen in years. The courtroom was packed with people who wanted to see Karen get punished. She sat at a table with her expensive lawyer who tried to make excuses for her. The lawyer said Karen was confused and meant no harm. I sat in the front row, my heart beating fast with nervousness and anger. Lily was still too weak to come to court, but I could feel her courage giving me strength. The prosecutor called me to tell my story to the jury. I told them everything. How Karen had been mean to our family for months. How she took my sick daughter and tied her to a tree. How I found Lily hanging there, scared and hurt. My voice started breaking when I described how frightened Lily was and how she cried. The people on the jury listened carefully. Some of them wiped tears from their eyes. One woman kept staring at Karen with disgust and anger. Then it was Karen's turn to speak. She walked to the witness stand and her voice was shaking. But she was still stubborn and mean. I was just making sure people followed the rules, she said. Tom's yard was a mess and made the whole neighborhood look bad. He ignored all my warnings. I thought if I took the girl for a little while, it would make him pay attention and fix his yard. The prosecutor leaned forward and spoke in a sharp voice. You thought kidnapping a sick child and tying her to a tree would make him cut his grass? Karen started to look confused and scared. I did not mean to really hurt her. I just lost control of the situation. The jury did not believe her lies. Neither did the judge, who looked very angry. When the jury announced their decision, the whole courtroom was completely silent. Guilty, the jury foreman said in a loud, clear voice. Karen's face fell apart and she started crying. The judge sentenced her to 7 years in prison for kidnapping and assault. As the police officers led her away in handcuffs, she looked at me with desperate, pleading eyes. I turned my head away. She did not deserve any pity or forgiveness from me. But Karen going to prison was not the end of our story. Lily's recovery was slow, but she was incredibly strong and brave. She started painting pictures again, filling our house with beautiful art showing flowers and sunsets and happy scenes. Our neighbors became like a big family. They helped us fix our yard, brought us home-cooked meals and even repaired our broken fence. They were not just sorry about what happened. They were angry that the system had let Karen terrorize families for so long. One sunny day Lily surprised me with an unusual request. Dad, can you take me back to the forest? I want to see that place again. I did not want to go back there. Lily, why would you want to go back to that scary place? I do not want to be afraid anymore, Dad. I want to take back that place and make it ours instead of hers. We went on a beautiful afternoon when the sun was shining bright. I pushed her wheelchair carefully over the bumpy dirt path. The forest did not seem as dark and scary now. Birds were singing happy songs and golden sunlight came down through the green leaves. Lily pointed to the clearing where I had found her. Can we plant something beautiful here? She asked. Something that will grow and be pretty? I felt my throat get tight with emotion but I nodded. Of course we can, sweetheart. We came back the next day with packets of flower seeds. Daisies were Lily's favorite flowers. As we planted the seeds together in the soft dirt, Lily smiled her beautiful smile. This place does not belong to her anymore, she said. Now it belongs to us and it will be full of beautiful things. Several months later, that clearing in the forest became a magical place. It was covered with hundreds of white and yellow daisies dancing in the breeze. Lily painted pictures of those flowers, and her artwork was so beautiful that she won first place in a local art contest. The whole town came to see her paintings displayed in the library. Everyone clapped for her, not just because her art was beautiful, but because they admired her strength and courage. She had faced a terrible monster and come out even stronger than before. As for me, I continued being the sheriff, but I was a different person now. I saw the world through Lily's eyes, full of hope and beauty, even after experiencing pain and fear. Karen was gone, locked away in prison where she could not hurt anyone else. But Lily's spirit could never be broken. She taught me that lesson. She taught everyone in our town that lesson. Our whole town changed because of what happened. The HOA got new leaders who cared about helping people instead of just enforcing strict rules. Neighbors started helping each other instead of judging and complaining. Every spring, when the daisies bloomed in our special clearing, families would gather there for picnics and celebrations. We did not gather to remember the pain, but to celebrate the brave girl who turned something terrible into something beautiful. Lily still has to fight her cancer, but she is not fighting alone. She has me, she has our whole town supporting her, and she has her field of flowers. Deep in my heart, I know that no one will ever hurt her again. Not while I am here to protect her. Not while I am her dad and she is my precious daughter. The forest clearing full of daisies became a symbol of hope for our entire community. It showed everyone that even in the darkest places, beautiful things can grow if you plant them with love and tend them with care.